I want when I want. They are jealous of me. I do what I want when I want. They are jealous of me. I do what I want when I want. They are jealous of me.
Because in my mind, I think it's hormonal, right? After having a baby, it's hormonal. Like I waited 6 months, right? I waited 6 months and then I was like, okay, now I'm ready. I mean, you know, there's a lot going on down there, which makes us want to wait. But, you know, it's kind of that I'm just like so busy. I've got this new baby. I'm not getting sleep. So let's talk about immediate postpartum and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So immediately postpartum, women go through the most drastic shift of hormones that they will in a lifetime, even more than menopause, right? Because menopause is a gradual thing.
Okay.
What happens is in pregnancy, your estrogen and your progesterone are the highest they'll ever be, right? And then you give birth and within 3 days, they go whoop, into the toilet, right? Because our prolactin goes up to help bring in our breast milk. And it also helps with, that feeling of calm. Oxytocin goes up, you know, during labor itself because of the, you know, helping with contractions. It'll also help with milk expression. And that is kind of helps with our bonding with our baby. But when prolactin goes up, it shuts estrogen and progesterone down. So estrogen is obviously our main female hormone. It's secreted by our adrenal glands and our ovaries. So we tend to think of it just as like, oh, it's just produced by our ovaries, but it actually is, you know, is produced in the adrenal glands as well, which is why stress and cortisol play such a critical role here.
Right.
So now we're dealing with low estrogen. We know that estrogen being up actually drives up more of a libido, right? And our testosterone drives up libido. Now, progesterone is kind of that opposite hormone that as progesterone rises, it lowers libido. So we're going to get there.
Okay.
But with estrogen being really, really low, our libido is already dropped. Plus we're thinking more about like bonding with that baby. We're all about the baby. We're not thinking about our partners at this point. In fact, you know, you just gave birth. The last thing on your mind is sex.
Exactly.
So there's hormones involved here. Also, like you said, the stress, you know, and the overwhelm of just, you know, lack of sleep. Maybe you don't have enough support. Maybe you're not eating well because, you know, you're all about the baby at that point and you're trying to learn how to breastfeed. So there's that part and that piece. And cortisol, when cortisol is up, that's going to shut down testosterone and estrogen as well. It's going to kind of drive down hormones. And so you need to be very careful with cortisol. But even like ongoing the first few weeks postpartum, first few months postpartum, if you're still breastfeeding, of course, those hormones are going to stay really low.
Okay.
And so you're also dealing with, you know, just like I said, so much other stuff, plus the physical, right, of dealing with kind of postpartum.
Don't touch my body.
With that?
I said, don't touch my body. Don't come near me.
Like your breasts might be sensitive, plus feeling overtouched, especially if you're breastfeeding.
Yeah.
I know me, I'm just like, don't touch them. Like just, it's honestly become like just a non-sexual thing now.
Yeah.
Like I know it might feel sexual to you, but it really does not to me anymore.
Exactly.
But a big mental piece too is, you know, will intercourse be painful? How do I know if I'm ready? Do I look different down there? What if my partner doesn't enjoy sex with me? Because women have this idea that their vaginas are going to feel wider and more open. And temporarily that might be the case, but everything goes back.
Yeah.
There's these myths and these stories that we make up in our head, and that we're not going to be desirable about our partners anymore. So I think that women also need to kind of get over that piece too. So immediately postpartum, you're dealing with this huge shift in hormones. So your libido is going to just tank.
Right.
And then depending on if you're breastfeeding or not, that will depend on, you know, what your hormones do going forward.
So usually I never talked about sex with my midwife. I don't think. It was like, you know, the 6, most people get the 6 or the 8 week checkup, the okay, you can start to exercise, you can have sex again. I don't even think that was even on my mind, but I believe that's when they will give you the clear to engage in intercourse again. So at that point, is it just, okay, that's the last interaction with your doctor and they're like, you're good to go? Or is there something hormonal that happens at that time that I guess it's everything, right? It's things are healed. If you've had a C-section or if you've had episiotomy, things are quite healed down there that you can probably begin to have intercourse. So I know you just talked about hormones everywhere. I'm like, oh, progesterone, testosterone, like all these things. So moms who are breastfeeding, let's, talk about moms. I breastfed for a year. How long did you breastfeed?
My first, I breastfed for 22 months.
Okay.
This one is 18 months now, and I'm still going.
Yeah.
It's never ending, isn't it?
Okay, so what's happening to us during that time? So breastfeeding, or is breastfeeding a time when we would have a lower libido, and then when we stop breastfeeding, we would have a higher libido?
So it's very interesting you say that. So going back to kind of your first discussion about the 6 to 8 week mark, our hormones are not shifting drastically at that point. Okay. It is basically, this is the last appointment with your doctor, which is unfortunate. And we're really trying to change that, right? Because really women in the postpartum period should have way more appointments in their first year, even 2 years postpartum, because there's so much physiological changes happening. But it really is that physical piece. That's usually when they say, okay, things are healed down there. It's really up to you now if you want to move forward.
Right.
Some women heal quicker, some heal later. So I hate kind of saying, oh yeah, at 6 weeks, you're good to go. Right. I really do feel like so much of that is like pelvic floor work as well. Mm-hmm. And you do a lot of pelvic floor. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of women who at 6 weeks aren't ready physically or mentally and emotionally. And so and then so then if we go back to now your question about, do we have low libido when we're breastfeeding, and then does it go up when we're weaning? Not necessarily. And here's why. So when we're breastfeeding, it's going to be that typical high prolactin, because that's keeping our milk supply going. So that prolactin is going to drive down your estrogen, right? That's going to drive down your libido. And while prolactin and oxytocin are elevated, you're going to have that bonding with your baby, that attachment to your baby. So sexual intercourse is not something that's kind of our immediate thing on our mind. Right. So you'd assume then that when we discontinue breastfeeding, our prolactin will drop and estrogen and progesterone will come back up. So our libido should return. Right. In hindsight, right. But immediately, it's actually going to be quite the opposite. So I don't know if you remember weaning, but a lot of women don't realize that when they start weaning, their hormones, like you'll get irritable, frustrated, you might break out into night sweats. There's just so much going on. And you don't understand. You're like, what's going on here all of a sudden? You don't even realize it's because you're weaning and your hormones are trying to kind of get back to normal. Okay. So prolactin will drop as you wean. So it will trigger, though, a huge increase in estrogen and progesterone. Yay, that's a good thing. Which is a good thing. But sometimes what happens is, while it's trying to balance, it's too high. And when estrogen is too high, you get this estrogen dominance picture. So then more PMS, more heavy periods, heavy periods, more clots, more irritability and moodiness. And so again, your body just doesn't feel like you want to have intercourse. You might be so irritable with your partner. You're like, get out of my face, that sort of thing. But it should kind of regulate out, within a few months of weaning. But the other thing is like, you're going from, maybe either avoiding intercourse or having very minimal intercourse to now assuming that you're just going to want it all the time. It's probably not going to be that way. You kind of, you still have a baby. You still have, you're maybe not sleeping well. They're up all night. You may be, working, there's still stress and there's still thyroid. There's still so many other factors that could be at play here. Mm-hmm. So we don't always blame the hormones. There might be other things at play driving down sex drive. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. So weaning, I guess, starts to become a good thing, and then you could overshoot it, like you said, and it could, okay. So don't think that weaning is a good thing, or don't think that weaning is going to make you desire it more. Yeah, but you'll get there. The libido can come back. It can come back. It can return. So it's just, finding out where those imbalances are and tweaking it. We're not in libido jail forever. No, although it feels that way sometimes. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all these tips. This was so great. I know that moms will be rewinding and watching over and over because there's so many tidbits here and there. So Jess, I know you have a lot of stuff on your social media. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, so the best place to find me is probably through my Instagram. So I'm sure you'll put the link there, but it's Dr. Jessica DuPont, very easy, Dr. Jessica DuPont, and you'll find me there. That's where I post the most. You can absolutely go to my website, drjessicand.com if you're looking to book an appointment. But Instagram is probably where you're going to find me the most. I have a few upcoming programs, one of them specifically focused on postpartum. I can't give out too much information, but this is a really excited one I'm really excited for, because there is no program out there for postpartum moms that address everything from nutrition, regulating hormones, how to navigate breastfeeding and weaning, how to navigate hair loss, and libido.
That's a good
whole
one.
other topic we could do.
Yes, it is.
But how to, cortisol and all this stuff, because like I said, or like even you said earlier, women, their doctor's appointments stop at 6 weeks postpartum. And that's it. It's like, okay, well, good luck now, have fun. Right. And then you're just left to be like, oh, okay. And so really, like, we need to change that. And women should be getting testing at certain times throughout their postpartum period. So this program is going to talk about that, what to get tested, how to interpret those results, what to eat and how to eat, how to regulate your hormones, how to navigate things, what's normal, what's not normal. And so it's really going to take that all encompassing, and even it's going to address pelvic floor and all this stuff. And so this is going to be launched in the fall, and it's strictly online, so women can do it at their own pace. So it's just going to give women that information that they're looking for, because Dr. Google, as we know, can cause a lot of stress. It can cause a lot of overwhelm. Yeah. It's like, well, what supplements do I do? At what dose? Like, is this good for me? Is this not good for me? I don't know. And it's like, you're too much on your plate already as a postpartum mom. It needs to be easy, laid out. Okay, this is my plan for me. Right. Because babies have all these doctor's appointments, but what about you?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So I'm really, really excited about this one, and I'll let you know as soon as that's launched, but it'll be
and I'll definitely put the link down below when that's out. But everybody, you can reach Dr. Jess. I'll have all her details in the description box below where you can reach her. So thanks so much, Jess, for coming here and being our expert guest. We learned a lot. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. Your vibrant, beautiful self. And keep empowering women. It's amazing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.